immediate and effective intervention by the UN Security Council as part of its responsibility for maintaining international peace and security. The organization also called on the UN Security Council to assume its responsibilities to bring about an immediate and complete cessation of the Zionist aggression against the Palestinian people and to ensure the adequate and sustained delivery of humanitarian aid to the entire Gaza Strip by implementing resolutions 2720 and 2728 and to ensure international protection for the Palestinian people. The extraordinary ministerial meeting of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation took place in Jeddah to discuss the continuing crimes committed by the Israeli entity against the Palestinian people and its attacks on the sovereignty of the Islamic Republic of Iran. At the request of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, took part in the meeting as part of Algeria's efforts and actions in support of the Palestinian cause and its constant solidarity with the countries and peoples neighboring Palestine in the face of the blatant aggression committed by the Zionist occupier. The OIC meeting comes against the backdrop of a dangerous and unprecedented escalation of the situation in the Middle East due to the Zionist entity's practices on all fronts. In an address to the extraordinary ministerial meeting of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Mr. Ahmed Attaf, said that the Zionist occupation, through its odious and shameful practices towards neighboring countries, is seeking to plunge the region into a cycle of crises, conflicts, and endless wars. Ahmed Attaf said that these actions embody the policy of escalation adopted by the colonial Zionist occupation as an approach, method, plan, and strategy vis-à-vis neighboring countries, with the aim of concealing the essence and substance of the conflict in the region, diverting the attention of the international community from the genocidal war underway in the occupied Palestinian territories and promoting the false image that no one believes anymore that of a defenseless entity besieged and victimized in a hostile neighborhood. For the minister, these scandalous behaviors and shameful practices which aim to plunge the region into a cycle of crisis and endless wars prove beyond doubt that the Israeli settlement occupation is not inclined towards peace.
The Israeli occupation is not peace-loving and does not believe in the idea of peace, nor in peace as a strategic option. The Israeli occupation believes by its words and deeds that its security and stability lie in the insecurity and instability of its neighborhood. The reaction of the occupation to the triumph of the just Palestinian cause at international level was seen through its obstinacy in committing crimes and adopting an all-out war on all fronts in the region, in Syria, Yemen, Lebanon, and most recently in Iran. Algeria reiterates its condemnation in the strongest possible terms of the cowardly terrorist attack targeting Iran, a brotherly country which claimed the life of the head of the political bureau of Hamas, the martyr Ismail Haniyeh.
In view of the diplomatic efforts being made to de-escalate the situation, the minister felt it necessary to stress three essential points. The first is that these de-escalation efforts must not focus on the secondary aspects of the conflict and ignore the substance.
The de-escalation must begin with an end to the genocidal war underway in the occupied Palestinian territories and in Gaza in particular. These de-escalation efforts must be directed first and foremost at the aggressor and the main party responsible for the serious developments in the region. The de-escalation efforts must go beyond the short-term factor and form part of a broader and long-term framework, the achievement of lasting lasting peace and security in the region remains dependent on dealing with the Palestinian question and its solution in accordance with the constants, references and rules agreed by the international community.
Mr. Ahmed Attaf has held bilateral talks with several in his counterparts from Arab and Muslim countries on the sidelines of his participation in the extraordinary ministerial meeting of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. These meetings provided an opportunity to examine ways of strengthening bilateral relations as well as preparing the ground for future cooperation between Algeria and these brotherly and friendly countries. Now, the Union of Libyan Tribes has welcomed the fraternal and positive position of Algeria, leaders and people, towards Libya and its people, expressing its support for the statement by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, on the Libyan crisis. Said Bouazi has the details in this report.
In his statement, Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf reiterated Algeria's appeal to all foreign parties to stop interfering in Libyan affairs and to refrain from any practice likely to sow division and drive a wedge between the children of the same country and the same nation, underlining that Algeria, as a brotherly and neighboring country, shared the joys and sorrows with Libya while being concerned for its security and stability. The same source underlined that the Libyan crisis is now in its 13th year and that its persistence is further complicating the situation due to the resurgence and complexity of foreign interference in Libya's internal affairs, thus limiting the prospects for a political solution which consists in putting an end to all interference, whatever its form, content or political, military and security objectives. On this occasion, the Libyan tribes expressed their greetings to the Algerian Republic, its leaders and its people for their fraternal and positive stance towards Libya and its people, underlining that such a gesture was not strange on the part of the country of 1.5 million martyrs, which has always been known for its nationalist stance. Reaffirming their support for Ahmed Attaf's declaration, the Libyan tribes considered that the declaration was an expression of their demands and their objective, adding that the radical solution to the Libyan crisis is to put an end to foreign interference and international tutelage over Libya, but also to allow the Libyan people to take their destiny into their hands and build their state in complete freedom.
Commenting on the statement by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, on the Libyan crisis, the advisor to the Union of Libyan Tribes, Khalid Al-Ghouil, has this to say.
The Union of Tribes has followed the statement issued by the Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf when he met with Ms. Stephanie Khouri, the acting head of the United Nations Support Mission for Libya. The statement was in favor of the Libyan people. The Union of Tribes hailed the statement, then issued a communique. Algeria's role is pivotal. Her goal is the stability of Libya. She has no interest in Libya. Algeria is a leading and pivotal country. This is why the communique was issued, to hail the position of Algeria, as stated by the minister in the press conference, in which he stressed on the importance of the withdrawal of mercenaries from Libya and halting any foreign interference in her internal affairs. This made us happy as Libyan tribes, which we expressed in issuing the
That was the advisor to the Union of Libyan Tribes, Khalid Al-Ghouil. The Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohamed Arqab, has held talks in Niamey, Niger, with the Niger Oil Minister, Mohamed Mustafa Barke, during which they discussed a number of issues, including Sonatrach's activities in the country and the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline project. Mohamed Arqab reaffirmed Algeria's readiness to transfer its expertise and know-how to the Niger side and to support it in the development of the oil industry in accordance with the guidelines and instructions of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. Algeria's permanent mission to the United Nations has said that the skeptics about Algerian boxer Iman Khalif are serving a political agenda, the aims of which are unknown, and that the report by the International Olympic Committee has defeated all skeptics. In his response to the Russian delegation at the Security Council briefing on the theme Perpetuating Respect for Commitments Relating to Women, Peace and Security in the context of the accelerating withdrawal of peace missions, the Algerian representative had this to say.
My country's delegation did not want politics to be mixed with sport, particularly the current Olympic Games. We have heard an implicit statement, but it clearly refers to a sportswoman, a champion of my country. Miss Boxer Iman Khalif was born a woman and practiced sport as a woman in her own right. And I reaffirm here that there is no doubt about that, except for those who serve a political agenda, of which we are unaware. I simply refer everyone to the International Olympic Committee, which, in its testimony, clearly pushed back all the skeptics about our brave heroine.
The World Health Organization WHO, which is working on a vaccination campaign against polio in Gaza, has said that the absence of a ceasefire in the ongoing Zionist war presented multiple obstacles. Last month, the Ministry of Health in Gaza declared a polio epidemic in the Palestinian enclave, blaming the Zionist aggression for this situation. Said Bouazi has more.
Polio was detected in wastewater in the governorates of Deir el-Balah and Khan Yunis in Gaza, said Hamid Jafari, a polio specialist at the WHO, at a press conference, adding that it was possible that the virus had been circulating since September. Although the vaccines needed to immunize 500,000 children against the epidemic are available, the delivery to the Palestinian territory and the type of door-to-door or tent-to-tent delivery required in Gaza were difficult given the restricted freedom of movement, officials said. We need a ceasefire, even a temporary one, to carry out these campaigns. Otherwise, we risk seeing the virus spread further, including across borders, said Hanan Balkhi, regional director of the WHO. Hanan Balkhi also highlighted the risk of antimicrobial resistance in Gaza and the possibility of such strains spreading to other countries. Richard Peppercorn, WHO representative in Palestine, said that Gaza had recorded a rate of diarrhea cases 24 times higher than normal, as well as more than 100,000 cases of scabies and lice and 70,000 cases of skin rashes caused by overcrowding, overflowing sewers, and contaminated water.
The Palestinian Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that the statement made by the extremist Israeli finance minister regarding justifying the killing and starving of 2 million people in the Gaza Strip is an explicit admission of adopting and bragging about the policy of genocide. The ministry said in a statement that this statement is a blatant violation of the rules of international law and principles of humanity, a blatant challenge to the International Court of Justice and its precautionary orders. The ministry further affirmed that such statement is considered a direct disregard for international legitimacy decisions and international consensus on protecting civilians and securing their basic humanitarian needs. The statement was also strongly condemned by the European Union. The NGO Médecins Sans Frontières has warned against the rapid deterioration of access to medical care for Palestinians in the West Bank town of El Khalil due to restrictions imposed by Zionist occupation forces and violence perpetrated by Zionist soldiers and settlers. More details in this report.
According to the NGO Médecins Sans Frontières, restrictions on movement, harassment and violence inflicted by the Zionist occupation forces and settlers are inflicting unnecessary suffering to the Palestinians of El Khalil. This has a disastrous impact on the mental and physical health of people, said Frederick van Dongen, MSF's head of humanitarian affairs. The MSF report reveals that the clinics of the Palestinian Ministry of Health throughout the Al Khalil governorate have been forced to close, pharmacies have run out of medicines, and ambulances transporting the sick and wounded have been blocked and attacked. Faced with restrictions on movement and the threat of violence, many patients are delaying their consultations with their doctors or have no choice but to stop their treatment altogether, deplored the NGO. In addition, it continued, many families in El Khalil are experiencing financial difficulties after losing their means of subsistence, forcing them to cancel their health insurance, limit their food, and do without essential medicines that they can no longer afford. Through the testimonies of patients and the Palestinian communities supported by MSF, the report sets out the consequences of the restrictions on movement imposed by the Zionist entity and the physical violence inflicted on Palestinians seeking medical care, and describes its devastating impact on the physical and psychological well-being of the people.
You're still listening to the English service of Radio Al Jazeera International. Stay tuned.